Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. We love to get into these reports, and today we're looking at Salesforce, ticker symbol CRM. A pretty big name, but is it a buy? Well, that's the mission for today's deep dive. We've got earnings reports, analyst opinions, even some juicy insider trading data.
Yeah, this one is interesting. I think you've got a company here at kind of a crossroads, a giant in the CRM world, but some big questions about their future, especially with all the buzz around this new AI platform, Agentforce.
All right, Agentforce, that's definitely on the list to discuss. But before we get there, just a real quick overview. What does Salesforce actually do for anyone listening who might not be, totally up on them?
Sure. So at their core, they provide customer relationship management technology. Basically, think of it as a system to organize all your interactions with customers, sales, marketing service, everything. But Salesforce has expanded way beyond, just basic sales tools.
Yeah, for sure. Like I've even used their online learning platform Trailhead to learn some new skills myself and get certified in Salesforce.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool setup. But okay, let's get back into the stock analysis here. Their recent performance has been pretty impressive, right?
Oh, absolutely. Their Q4 and full year 2025 results were really strong. They actually blew past expectations. We're talking $10 billion in revenue for Q4 alone and a massive $37.9 billion for the year. I mean, that's market dominance.
Wow. Yeah. Those are some impressive numbers for sure. But I'm also seeing some little yellow flags popping up there. Guidance for fiscal year 2026 is projecting slower revenue growth, and that seems to have made some investors a little nervous.
Yeah, right. That's the catch. While 7 to 8% growth is still good, it's a definite slowdown from what they were doing before. And, the market really doesn't like uncertainty. So that's leading to some of those questions about whether Salesforce can keep up that momentum.
And speaking of uncertainty, let's talk about this Agentforce thing. This seems to be their big bet for the future, this AI platform. But there's so much hype around AI right now. Is this the real deal, or are we just talking about, another buzzword?
Well, Agentforce is basically a suite of AI tools that Salesforce is saying is going to, completely revolutionize how we work.
Hey,
I mean, imagine AI agents that automate tasks, give you insights to make better decisions, and basically just, change the game across different departments.
so instead of your sales team spending hours on data entry, they've got an AI assistant doing that for them, and they can focus on actually building relationships, closing deals, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And it's not just sales. We could be talking marketing, customer service, even product development. I mean,
Yeah.
Salesforce is really going all in on this idea that Agentforce will be a game changer across the board. They're even calling it the digital labor revolution.
Okay, but are they just throwing around fancy words, or is there actually some substance behind this? I mean, their stock did dip a little after that earnings call, and there's definitely some people out there who are skeptical.
Oh, yeah. And that's understandable. There's always, a difference between the promise and the reality, especially when we're talking new technology. But there are a few things that make Agentforce especially interesting. Remember how we talked about Salesforce having a wide moat?
Yeah, hold on right there. Just a quick reminder for anyone who hasn't heard that term. What exactly does economic moat mean, and how does Salesforce have one?
Okay, so imagine a castle, right? A castle with a moat around. It makes it a lot harder to attack, right? Well, in the
Yeah.
business world, a moat is all about a company's competitive advantages, things that make it really hard for their competitors to, steal their customers. And Salesforce's moat is considered to be wide because of their integrated platform. They have so many different products and services that all work together that once a company is, using Salesforce, it's a real pain to try and switch away.
So it's kind of like you're building your own custom castle, right? With all these interconnected rooms and defenses, and you've put so much work into making it perfect that moving to a different castle would just be a huge headache.
Exactly. And that's what makes Agentforce so interesting. It actually adds another layer to that castle, right? It makes the Salesforce platform even more valuable by giving companies these powerful AI tools that are, already connected to all their existing systems. And that's a big deal for businesses that want to work smarter and stay ahead of the game.
So even if Agentforce isn't, making tons of money right now, that long-term potential is what's getting those bullish analysts so excited.
Exactly. They see Salesforce positioning themselves to really lead this digital labor revolution. And if you think about it, that's not a small market if they're right.
Yeah.
And AI agents become, as common as smartphones. We're talking about a huge shift in how business gets done.
Okay, so huge potential there, but let's be real for a second. What are some of the risks? What could, throw a wrench in the whole Agentforce plan? What did they say in that earnings call that might be a cause for concern?
Well, they did mention some potential headwinds, things like fluctuations in exchange rates, that could impact their revenue. And certain business segments like marketing and commerce are a little weaker right now. And of course, there's that slower than expected revenue growth.
So even though they're, really hyping up Agentforce as the next big thing, it's not exactly printing money at the moment. Is that a red flag or just, part of the normal process for a new product?
It's probably a little bit of both, to be honest. Any new product, especially something as complicated as Agentforce, takes time to, gain traction, but the market wants to see results. And if that revenue doesn't ramp up as quickly as people are hoping, it could definitely hurt investor confidence.
Yeah, and of course, there's always the competition. Microsoft is pouring billions into AI, and they're a force to be reckoned with. How does Salesforce stack up against, a giant like that?
It's going to be a battle of the titans for sure. Microsoft definitely has the advantage when it comes to, their size and their resources, and they're really going after AI in a big way. But Salesforce has something that Microsoft doesn't. They've got decades of experience in the CRM world, and they really understand how businesses work.
So it's like a street fight between a seasoned brawler and a tech-savvy newcomer. And both sides have their strengths. It's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Exactly. And it's not just about the technology either. It's about building that ecosystem, attracting developers, and convincing businesses that you're the best platform for the long haul.
All right, so we've got a company with a proven track record, a strong economic moat, and big plans for the future. But they're also facing some real challenges to help us figure out if their stock is actually a buy. Let's dive into those analyst reports and see what the experts are saying, and then we'll wrap things up by looking at that insider trading data. See if those in the know are putting their money where their mouth is. Stay tuned for part 2.
Okay, so let's jump into those analyst reports. There was one that really caught my eye from Northland Securities. They actually said that Agentforce has minimally caught up with Microsoft when it comes to what it can actually do. And that's a pretty big statement considering how much money Microsoft is throwing at AI these days.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty surprising to hear. It seems like everyone's trying to figure out, who's going to win this whole AI race. But what's interesting is that Salesforce and Microsoft, they seem to be approaching it in totally different ways, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Salesforce is really building on their strength, that CRM platform and all the other companies and tools that work with it. So they're basically integrating AI into those existing systems, giving AI superpowers to stuff that businesses are already using every day.
So instead of starting from scratch, they're giving their castle a serious tech upgrade.
Exactly. But Microsoft is coming at it from a much broader angle. They're using their huge cloud infrastructure and AI across all sorts of products like Azure and Bing. It's a much more general approach.
So it's like we've got a specialized AI powerhouse going up against a giant AI, empire. No wonder these analyst opinions are all over the place. I mean, we've got price targets ranging from hold to strong by what are they basing all these different valuations on?
Well, there are a few things at play here. First, you got to remember that Salesforce is the undisputed king of CRM, and that's a huge market that's only getting bigger. And second, they have a really strong track record of innovation. They've always been good at adapting and expanding into new areas, buying up companies and technologies to stay ahead of the game.
And that brings us right back to Agentforce. Even if it's not a huge moneymaker at this very second, that potential is just massive. I mean, these analysts are betting on it becoming, the main engine of growth for Salesforce for years to come.
Right. And it's not just, blind faith either. Salesforce said they already have over 3,000 paying Agentforce customers, and it's only been 90 days. I mean, that shows you there's a real demand for this kind of thing. And don't forget about their data cloud. It's got over 50 trillion records in it now, which is just mind-blowing. That's a ton of data they can use to train their AI and make their tools even smarter.
Okay, so lots of potential upside there. But as you know, in the investing world, it's all about balancing risk and reward. What could go wrong here? What could derail this whole Salesforce growth story?
Well, as we've been talking about, the competition is fierce, right? Microsoft is a serious threat, and there are other companies popping up in the AI space all the time. Plus, there's always the risk that Salesforce just, messes up the execution. Integrating AI into a platform as complex as theirs is a huge project. There could be delays, technical glitches, or even just, they could fail to deliver what customers are expecting.
And let's not forget about the big picture, the overall economy, inflation, rising interest rates, all the geopolitical stuff going on. I mean, those are all factors that could impact Salesforce's growth, no matter how innovative their technology is.
Absolutely right. Businesses always tighten their belts when things get tough, and that usually means they cut back on IT spending, which would obviously hurt Salesforce's bottom line.
So it really comes down to this: do you believe in Salesforce's long-term vision? Do you buy into this whole idea of a digital labor revolution where AI agents become, just a normal part of the workforce? If you do, then this little dip in their stock price might actually be a good buying opportunity. But if you're not convinced, then maybe the risks outweigh the potential rewards.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important to, do your own research, understand how much risk you're comfortable with, and make a decision that fits your own personal goals.
Great point. Now, before we move on to that insider trading stuff, I want to circle back to this whole economic moat thing for a second. We talked about how Salesforce's platform makes it really hard for customers to leave. But can you give us like a real world example of how that actually works in practice?
Sure. So think about Salesforce's App Exchange. It's basically a giant app store with thousands of different apps that all work seamlessly with Salesforce. Imagine a company that's, really customized their entire workflow using dozens of these apps, everything from marketing automation to project management to expense tracking. I mean, if they wanted to switch to a competitor, they'd have to find replacements for all those apps, move all their data, and then retrain all their employees. It would be a total nightmare. And that's a huge advantage for Salesforce.
Wow. Yeah, that's a perfect example. It really shows you how that whole ecosystem creates this, stickiness and gives them a real edge over the competition. Right. So we've looked at the numbers we've heard from the experts, and we've even gotten a little deeper into, how they actually do business. But now let's peek behind the curtain and see what those insiders are up to with their own money. Is that insider trading data giving us any hints about how confident they are in the company? Okay, so let's see what these Salesforce insiders are doing. Are they putting their money where their mouth is? What's that insider trading data tell us?
Well, there's definitely some interesting activity going on. The EVP and Chief Accounting Officer, Sundeep G. Reddy, recently bought a pretty big chunk of shares. And back in early March, the president and CFO, Amy E. Weaver, she also made a significant purchase.
So two pretty high-level execs
Yeah.
buying stock. That seems like a good sign, right? A vote of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem to suggest some optimism from the inside. Of course, we don't know exactly what their motivations are, but it's something that investors definitely pay attention to.
Right. I mean, they have access to info that we don't, so their actions can definitely be telling. But to be fair, we've also seen some sales by other executives, haven't we?
Yeah, if we look back a bit further, there have been some sales, but it's important to keep in mind that, people sell stock for all kinds of reasons. It doesn't always mean something bad is happening. They might need to diversify their portfolio or pay for something big or just, cash out some of their profits after the stock has gone up a lot.
Right. So insider selling isn't always a red flag. It all depends on the context.
Exactly. And in this case, those recent purchases by some key people, plus the generally positive outlook from the analysts, it all seems to point to a pretty good amount of optimism about Salesforce's long-term future.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We looked at the numbers we heard from the experts, and we even got a little glimpse into what those insiders are thinking. But before we wrap up this whole deep dive, I want to zoom out for a second and talk about the big picture. Salesforce is really going all in on this digital labor revolution. They seem to believe that AI agents are going to completely change how we work, and not just in the tech world, I mean across all industries. So what does that actually mean for, the average person? Are we all going to be replaced by robots?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? The one everyone's asking. But the truth is, it's probably going to be more complicated than that. Some jobs are definitely going to be automated. There's no doubt about that. But AI is also going to create new opportunities, and it's going to change the way a lot of jobs are done.
So maybe instead of robots taking over, it's more like robots working with us.
Yeah. Exactly. Think of AI agents like, really powerful tools that can handle those boring, repetitive tasks. And that frees up humans to focus on things that require, creativity and critical thinking and emotional intelligence. So instead of spending hours on data entry, you're analyzing that data and making strategic decisions. Instead of answering basic emails, you're building relationships and solving complex problems.
This is more about using AI to make us better at our jobs, not to get rid of us altogether.
You're right. And that's going to require a lot of adaptation from all of us. We'll need to learn new skills and be comfortable working alongside AI. It's a whole new world.
A brave new world for sure. But let's bring it back to Salesforce. How are they getting ready for this AI-powered future?
Well, Agentforce is their big play in this space, right? They're building AI agents for all sorts of tasks,
Yeah.
sales, marketing, customer service, even software development. And remember how we talked about their platform being so integrated? That's even more important in this AI world.
Because if all your data is in one place and all your systems are talking to each other, it makes it way easier to use AI effectively.
Exactly. Salesforce isn't just selling, individual AI tools. They're selling a whole AI ecosystem, and that's a really attractive offer for businesses that want to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
hmm
We've analyzed the financials, we looked at their AI strategy, and we even thought about the future of work. What's the key takeaway for our listeners today?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that Salesforce is at a really important point in their journey. They're a leader in a fast-moving industry, and they're taking some big risks on the future, and those risks could pay off big time, but there are also some real challenges they need to overcome.
So if you're thinking about investing in Salesforce, you really need to think about the potential rewards and the potential risks. Do your research, know how much risk you're comfortable with, and make a decision that makes sense for you and your goals.
And maybe most importantly, ask yourself, do you believe in their vision? Do you believe in the power of AI to really change things?
Because that belief is going to be a big part of deciding whether Salesforce is the right investment for you. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Salesforce and you want to stay ahead of the game on all things tech business and the future of work, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss any of our future episodes. We've got more deep dives coming your way, exploring all the latest trends and helping you make sense of this crazy, complex world we live in.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay curious.